Hi, my name is Rita Amarichinda. I welcome you to IP series where we talk about recent IP cases and development globally from copyright, trademark, patent, industrial design, geographical indication, plant varieties, and trade secrets. If this is your first time tuning into my podcast, please subscribe so you don't miss out on any episode. You can also check out for IP series on Apple and Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Breaker, Spotify, Overcast. If you've always been listening to my podcast, I say a big thank you to you guys for always tuning in and listening to what I have to say regarding intellectual property. Don't forget to favorite my podcast on Anchor. So let's get right into today's episode. Last week, the FIFA 21 soundtrack was released and the internet was blowing up. Game lovers were excited. Everyone was excited. Hashtag FIFA 21, hashtag artist that was featured. But what caught my attention was when I checked through the list, I saw a FireBoy DML and I was like, cool, this is like an opportunity to talk about how artists can commercialize and exploit their intellectual property and also generate funds, revenue for themselves in this aspect. Like, how do you get your song featured on video games, films, music, commercial adverts, etc., etc. So our topic for today is intellectual property rights in video games and synchronization license. So stay tuned, guys. We already know that intellectual property protects works that are creative and innovative in nature, thereby giving the IP owner the exclusive right to commercialize and exploit their work anyhow they want. So you can use your work to generate funds for yourself, extra revenue for yourself. You can exploit it through the following ways. You can license it, you can assign it, you can build a franchise, create merchandise, also known as merch. Just like what Burna Boy did recently for his the Monster You Made track from his Twice as Tall album. You can also sell your IP. You can go into partnerships. You can also go into mergers. Anything you want to do. That's basically it. And as we know, video games and musical works are listed as works that are eligible for copyright protection. But now the question is, how can a creative benefit from all of these things? What are the rights that a creative gets to have when he creates a work, a content? So basically, you have the right to reproduce your work. You have the right to perform or show or play your work in public. You have the right to prevent others from copying your work. You have the right to distribute copies of it, whether it's for free or it's for sale. You have the right to also rent or lend copies of your work. You have the right to also make an adaptation of your work. For instance, a book can be adapted into a movie. You can also translate your work into various languages. You can also put your work on the internet. Those are the rights that you have as a copyright owner. As we know, copyright must be in a fixed medium. It must be expressed in a fixed medium. So all the works that are eligible for copyright protection are already in fixed medium. That way, you enjoy protection automatically. And copyright is the only IP that grants you automatic protection from the moment you start creating your work. From the moment your work is created and is in a fixed medium, you already have protection. However, it's advisable that you go further to deposit a copy of your work at your national copyright office. So in Nigeria here, that would be the Nigerian Copyright Commission. Consent, permission, and authorization is key in IP. It is very important. It is very crucial. Anything outside any of this is considered to be an infringement. An infringement basically is you using an IP owner's work without their CPA, consent, permission, and authorization. So it doesn't matter if it was not for commercial purposes. What I mean by that is that you didn't use it to make money. The mere fact that you use their work without their permission, that are CPA, consent, permission, authorization. That's an infringement. However, there are instances where your actions could be termed or fall under the fair dealing or fair use principle, depending on the jurisdiction or in the jurisdiction that you find yourself. But with regards to IP, CPA is very important, very, 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 very important, and especially in this digital era where reproduction and distribution of work is so easy. Like all the middlemen are already being cut out from everything, so it's easy for someone to share your song, to share your music, to share your film, your picture, everything. Where this happens, please always brief a lawyer and forget social media call out. Social media call out might help you to an extent. You might get retweets, likes, favorite, whatever, whatever. But the issue will not be solved. We will not have precedent to look forward to. So always make sure that you sue and brief your IP lawyer. I already did a podcast talking about how to commence a copyright infringement. You can check, just go and check. That was like episode 2 or 3. I can't remember now, but I know I got good feedbacks from that. People considered it to be really informative. So in conclusion, CPA is very important. Without that, the person has infringed. Don't even waste time. Just holler at your lawyer, your IP lawyer specifically. Now, what is the relationship between video games and synchronization of music? Very simple. Intellectual property. I mean, that's all we've been talking about in this podcast. IP is the basis of whatever information or conversation we'll be having. IP intersects or interplays with everything in this world. So you just check around you see some form of IP around you. What are the IP rights in a video game? So first is copyright. Copyright basically protects literary and artistic work, and this could be for video games, and this could be the software code, the website design, the artwork, and the sound as the music of the game. Trademark basically is a source identifier. Trademark lets you know, helps you differentiate brand A from brand B. So trademark could be the name of the brand, the logo, the game title in this instance. Patents basically protects new inventions, the functionalities of that invention that you've created. You can't patent a song. Please always know that. You can't patent an idea. In short, you can't protect an idea unless it falls under a creative content or an innovative work. So when it comes to video games and patents, you talk about the hardware technical solutions. Now, trade secret, very important. Trade secret is anything that gives you an edge over the next person, your competitor. That is supposed to be confidential. I think the most famous trade secret case is the Coca-Cola recipe. I mean, we know that based on stories, it could be myths or whatever. A lot of people have tried to, um, replicate the Coca-Cola formula, but it's been difficult. So, and they've kept that safely. They've guarded that for over it's more than 50 years now. So with regards to video game, trade secret basically protects the deal terms, the pricing of your game, um, anything that makes your game stick out from another game. I watch a lot of South Korean series, and I know there was this particular series that was about video games, and I find it really intriguing and interesting at the end of the day because there was so much effort meant, put in place to protect um what the game was about, the pricing of the game, the characters, everything. I mean, everything is intellectual property um rights. So there was this episode where the girl claimed to have created the work, but another of her colleague whom she used to work with now stole that work according to her. stole the work and made a finished product out of it. So she went for this video game exhibition, and while they were showing like, okay, these are the new games that are coming out, she saw everything. She was like, everything about this game is my idea. And she went to challenge the guy, and people gathered, and someone came and was like, how do we know it's your work? Where's your product? Do you get my point? So when it comes to copyright, we need to see your finished product. So the video game, CDs, your draft, everything that can tell someone that this game actually was created by you. So when it comes to video games, you can opt for a multi-layered IP protection. Copyright, trademark, patent, trade secrets, those are your best shot at protecting your intellectual property in video games. IP is the lifeblood of the gaming industry, and the global gaming market is estimated to be worth $256.97 billion by 2025. That is 5 years from today. This is going to be the worth of the global gaming market. What are our stakes in that market? How many percentage does Nigeria have in that market? How many percentage does Africa as a continent have in that market? So I think we need to sit up when it comes to creation of intellectual properties, be it in form of copyright, trademark, patent. I mean, you need to get educated. You need to know the basics of intellectual property. Like I stated earlier, IP basically interfaces with every industry, whether or not you like it. Now, to our case study for today. So the FIFA 21 soundtrack was recently released, like I stated, and FireBoy DML song was included in the playlist. This is good news for the entertainment industry in Nigeria, for the musicians, the artists, the songwriters. This is really good news, as it goes to show how an artist can commercialize their work. They can exploit it to generate extra revenue for themselves. And I already listed out how that can be done. They can license it. So in this case now, um in order for Fireboy's music, okay, the particular song that was used was Carter. The part is Carter. I can imagine gamers, listening to this and playing the FIFA 21, but I digress. uh, so, in order for your song to be featured, there are processes and that needs to be carried out in order to make sure that you don't have any IP suits knocking at your door when you release your video game. So that's basically it. So congratulations to FireBoy DML and Leyma. Everything is recorded. Chloe Black, every artist whose song was featured on the FIFA 21 soundtrack. Congratulations, guys. The process in which your music can be used in a video game in this instance is known as a music sync license. Now, a music sync is a license. A license basically is a permission, authorization, consent. Don't forget the CPA, that's given to an intended user for a duration of time in a visual, such as movies, commercials, and games. And this is backed by a contract. And why is this really important? Without that contract, there's nothing to show that you actually gave your CPA to the intended user, and it has to be always for a limited period of time. So don't go and sign a license that lasts for 5 to 10 years, because one, the economy can be really unpredictable. So if you have your IP lawyer by your side, you'll be properly guided. If you have your entertainment lawyer by your side, you'll be properly guided. If you have your manager, everyone, the relevant people around you will properly guide you. So you give out your song, you license your song for a stipend called royalties. So for every time that your song is being used in that commercial or movie or games, you earn a royalty. You're either paid per use or at once. So and as a video game creator, it is very important that you clear all the intellectual property rights before you use it in your video game. Now, according to Chris Cook of CMU, he said licensing music for games can be a complicated business for the following three reasons. The first one being that copywriting songs and the copywriting recordings are separate. I mean, as an artist, you need to really understand this concept that copyright when it comes to song is copyright when it comes to songs is separate from the recording itself. So if you are using the recordings of song, you need to license two sets of rights, the song rights and the recording rights. Every video game owner should know this. The artist should know this so that everyone knows the rights that is accorded to them. Secondly, he said that copyright can be co-owned, so you can have co-authors and co-owners of a song, and song copyrights routine. If you want to use a co-owned songs, you need to get permission, your CPA, don't forget it. You need to get CPA separately from each co-owner, any of which can say no. I know I've read cases where a particular song owned by a band, and one person decides to give a license and the other people set of the band refuse to give their consent for the song to be used, and that becomes a dispute at the end of the day. When that happens, you can always go to court, or you can opt to settle out of court. He said this is important because on the song side, copying and communication are often um, licensed separately. And finally, if you sync a track into a game and then make that game available via online network, in copyright terms, you are both copying and communicating the song. So remember, I talked about the rights that are exclusive to a copyright owner, the right to copy or distribute or communicate the song to the public. Those are the rights that are accrued to you. And on top of that, copyrights might be owned by different people or companies in different countries, and rules vary around the world. So companies could be the record labels, organizations could be like the collective management organization, collecting societies basically. The laws refers to the various copyright laws that the countries where the song is going to be used remember I talked about copyright um giving you automatic protection from the moment you create it. However, it is all IPs are territorial in nature. So our Nigerian copyright law cannot be applicable in the UK because the UK has its own copyright law, the United States has its own copyright law, etc., etc. So make sure that these three things, I'll just go through it again. Know the difference between copyright in songs and recording, that they are separate. Copyrights can be co-owned by different persons, and if you need to sync a track in a game, make sure that the copyright terms states that you are both copying and communicating the music to the public. That covers this part. Yay! So in wrapping up, as future video game developers, if you want to use a licensed work in your video game, make sure you get IP clearance. That's very important. Determine the chain of title. Also work with people that are experts in these areas. Think of IP as a long-term goal for yourself as a creative person. Think big. Don't have short-term goals like, okay, my goal now just to make money now. You get the contract and then you sign off your right without you even knowing. So make sure that for every time you want to commercialize or exploit your IP rights, make sure you have a lawyer vet your agreement, and know that from the moment you create your work, you already enjoy copyright protection because it's automatic in nature. Also, you enjoy copyright for as long as you live, plus posthumous protection where your work lasts for 70 years afterwards. Your heirs or your successors can benefit from that. I'll give an example. The Fela family does that. The Marvin Gaye family, I know they sued Pharrell and when they sang the Bloodline case, with the Houston family as well. A lot of foreign artists are always aggressive when it comes to their copyright protection. You're always seeing, oh, this person sampled my this without my permission. I think the most recent one is the Nicki Minaj case, um, and the Chapman's family, but that's another IP series for another day. But yeah, it goes to show you that just like how FireBoy DML, Leyma, and other musicians' music were synced into the FIFA 21 and soundtrack, you can also commercialize and exploit your work, not just for games. So don't just be so fixated on video games. You can also license your songs to filmmakers, to people who do adverts. You can use your song for everything. So there are ways for you to make money. You can also be like Burna Boy. Just create a merchandise for your song. That's for from a particular song from your album. Like Burna Boy did the Monster You Made merchandise, face masks, and a hoodie, I think. Yeah, from his Twice as Tall album. That was really a genius idea. I know Copy did that last year. Tiwa also have done that, and Whiskey has done that when the whole controversy about the name Starboy. I think that was a really smart move. But congrats to all the artists whose songs were featured in the FIFA 21 soundtrack. In conclusion, if you've learned something today and you want to receive more IP series updates, please subscribe to my podcast on Anchor. You can also listen to it on other platforms like Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, Overcast, Pocket Cast, and Radio Public. And with that, I come to the end of today's IP series. Thank you guys for joining. Bye.